Cisco IOS has its own integrated web server, and it's good to have HTTP and HTTPS service running on the Cisco IOS router. With the web browser, you can access the router and check many more things, like you can see the logs for the router, you can check the tech support logs of the router, you can initiate a ping request to remote device, and you can also perform basic troubleshootings. And there are a lot more tasks that can be performed. The HTTP feature allows you to have a web connection with the router, but HTTP protocol is not secured unlike HTTPS protocol. The HTTPS feature provides you a secure and encrypted method to access the router via a web browser using a secure socket layer. This is generally called a transport layer security. So why do we use HTTPS protocol over a HTTP protocol? Because a secure web connection prevents HTTP session from being intercepted or attacked. Let's see how we can activate the HTTP feature on a Cisco router. The HTTP protocol is by default disabled, and you need to use the command IP HTTP server to activate the feature. You can verify the feature using the command show IP HTTP server status. So let me do this for you. So let's first verify the HTTP feature. The command is show IP HTTP server status. So here you can see HTTP server status is disabled, which means HTTP feature is disabled on this router. By default, HTTP protocol use the port number 80. Let me show you one more thing. Show running configuration. So here you can see no IP HTTP server, which means that by default HTTP service is disabled on a Cisco router. Now let's activate this one, IP HTTP server. That's it. Now let's check once again using the command show IP HTTP server status. Show IP HTTP server status. Now this time HTTP server status is enabled. So we have successfully activated the HTTP service on a Cisco router. Since we have activated the HTTP service on a Cisco router, which means we can access the router using the web browser. Let me try to access the router using the web browser. So IP is 192.168.1.153. So here you can see that we have successfully accessed the router, but it's asking to enter the login credential. I hope you noticed one thing when I had executed the command show IP HTTP server status. Let me show you one more time. Show IP HTTP server status. So here you can see HTTP server authentication method is enabled, which means initial HTTP connection with the router should be authenticated with the user credential. So let's create the user credential for the HTTP page. So I'm creating a user credential with the command username Cisco HTTP, privilege 15, secret Cisco HTTP. That's it. Now let's verify one more time whether we are able to access the web page using the login credentials. Let me refresh the page once again. Okay, now we have to supply the username Cisco HTTP, and now we have to supply the password Cisco HTTP. Okay, so we supplied the correct login credential on the web page for sign in, but still we have an issue to get the web page loaded on the browser. So what could be the reason here? So we have to tell the router when someone is supplying a login credential on the web page, that login credential has to be validated from the local database or from the AAA database or somewhere else. So for that we need to execute one more command, IP HTTP authentication, and we have a multiple authentication method. One is AAA, so you have a TechX server or Radius server, so your login credential is over there. So when someone executes the command, the router will go to the AAA server and will validate the user credential with the AAA server. The second one is enable password, which is local, and the third one is local, which means you are going to create a local database with the login credential, username and password. Since I have created a user and the password in router itself, it means I have to use the keyword local. That's it. Let's reload the page once again and see whether we are able to access the web page. So let me reload this page again, and username is Cisco HTTP, password is Cisco HTTP. Yes, we have successfully logged in on the router and we can see the web page. So as I told you that you can see the logs for the router, you can check the tech support logs, you can initiate a ping request to the remote device, and there are lot more information can be checked through the web page. So first thing is show diagnostics logs, which means you are going to check the logs for the router. The next one is monitor the router, which means you can execute some commands to troubleshoot the feature or check the configuration. You can download the configuration, or you can test anything. Generally you will land on exe mode, so you can execute the command show. So let me do one thing, show IP interface brief. Let me execute this command, and you can see the interface IP address as well as the interface status. If you go to the tab configure, you can configure any feature if you want. The same command you have to execute here which you use on the CLI. So I'm not going to configure anything here, just go to the home page. Now as I said, you can check the tech support logs, so you can click on the tech support logs and you have the tech support for this router. Let's go to the home page again. That's it. In the HTTP we cannot do much on the web browser. Let's move to the HTTPS part and see how we can activate the HTTPS and use it for a secure channel. By default, router creates a self-signed digital certificate that is required for a secure access, and the router adds the digital certificate for itself. You can see this using the command show crypto key mypub key RSA. So let me execute this command for you. So the command is show crypto key mypub key RSA. Okay, sorry, here we have to execute show crypto key mypub key RSA. So here you can see digitally signed certificate, and you can see the key technocafe_dns.technocafe.com. It was created when I activated the SSS feature on this router. If in case this command does not show any self-signed certificate, you can generate them using the command crypto key generate RSA. But before generating the RSA key, there are two major commands has to be executed on the router. So to make this happen, use the command hostname. The next thing is you have to set the DNS name. So the DNS name is very much required before generating the RSA key. It is a good practice to explicitly disable the HTTP server to ensure that only encrypted HTTP sessions are permitted once secure HTTP is enabled. So to make this happen, use the command no IP HTTP server to disable the HTTP server. So let me first disable the HTTP server. So no IP HTTP server, and let's validate whether the HTTP server still is running or it has been disabled. So I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, so I'm no longer able to see the web page. So the next point is we have to create a host name. So host name is already assigned to this router, technocafe_DNS. Next thing is we have to set the domain name. So the command is IP domain name, and for me domain name is technocafe.com. Now this time we have to activate the secure HTTP. So the command is IP HTTP secure server. Previously we used the command IP HTTP server, which is dedicated for the unsecure channel, and this command is for secure HTTP server. So here are two different things. One, HTTP use the port number 80 and HTTPS use the port number 443. So let me see the status for the HTTP service. Show IP HTTP server status. So you can see HTTP server status is disabled and HTTP secure server port is 443 and HTTP secure server status is enabled. So we have disabled the unsecure channel and enabled the secure channel. Rest of the thing is completely same. We don't need to work on it. So what we have to do is we have already created the login credentials for the authentication, and we have already activated the command IP HTTP authentication local. So let me show you once again. Do show run section IP HTTP. So here you can see HTTP feature is disabled with the command no IP HTTP server, and HTTP secure server is activated, and this command is already applied on the router to look up the local database. Let's see if we can access the router from the web browser. Let me try over the incognito mode. 192.168.1.153. Username is Cisco HTTP. Cisco HTTP. Sign in. Yes, we have successfully accessed the router using the HTTPS feature. That's it in the HTTP and HTTPS feature. Let's move to the next part, which is how to factory reset the interface. Okay, what does the factory reset mean here? It means we are removing the entire configuration of the interface and the interface will move to its original state. But how we will remove the configuration of the interface? Removing each command line one by one? No, we will not remove each command line one by one. We will have a special command for it. Assume it, the configuration for a particular interface is quite long. I know you could go to the interface configuration mode and prefix all the commands with the keyword no. But this can be a bit repetitive and time consuming task. To remove the configuration for the interface, use the command default interface and interface name. For example, I'm going to configure one interface here with some features, and later on we will use the same command to reset the interface. So let me see what interface is available here. Choose IP interface brief. To show IP interface brief. So I can configure Ethernet 0/1 interface. So interface Ethernet 0/1. I'm going to assign IP address 1.1.1. Okay, before that, let's see what exactly configuration is available on this interface. Do show run interface Ethernet 0/1, and we can see the configuration for the interface is no IP address shutdown. That's it. Now I'm going to assign an IP address on this interface, IP address 1.1.1, and mask is /32. Okay, let's do this for 24. No shut. I can also use a show IP OSP of 100 area 0. That's it. So let's verify the configuration for this interface again. Show run interface Ethernet 0/1. So I have this much of configuration. The very first line is IP address and the second one is OSPF configuration. So how do we factory reset this interface? The command is very simple, as I told you. So default interface and interface name. So interface name is Ethernet 0/1. So Ethernet 0/1. That's it. Let's see whether we have successfully factory reset the interface Ethernet 0/1. So command is show running configuration interface and interface name. Yes, you can see here interface Ethernet 0/0, and there is no IP address, no SPF configuration. That's how you can factory reset the interface. This is very useful command when you are going to remove the entire configuration of particular interface. Do not use this command when you are going to remove only specific line from the interface. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. That's it. Let's move to the next part. In the next part, what we will do is we will factory reset the router. Okay, the next topic is how to factory reset the Cisco iOS router. Do you know why is this feature here? As you already know, the configuration file contains sensitive data like IP address, username and password and certificate. This is only the reason we factory reset the router before removing it from the network. And you don't know who will purchase this box in the second-hand market and how it will be used. Whether the router is used for a lab testing or any attacker is using this router for some other purpose. Anyway, there are a lot more factors due to this. Each engineer factory reset the router before removing the device from the rack. Another important thing is most of the companies follow their government regulation and they refresh the network equipment from time to time. None of the company want their data to be leaked publicly. For that, before decommissioning the device, they factory reset the device so that nothing should be there in the configuration file related to the company. What happens when you factory reset the router? Resetting the Cisco iOS router to factory default mode involves erasing the NVRAM data. Actually, it creates a new and blank startup configuration file once you factory reset the router. And the default startup file does not contain anything related to the company. One more thing I want to tell you, please do not perform this activity in the production environment. Here I am doing this activity in the lab environment. Please perform this activity in the lab environment. Okay, let's factory reset the router. So very first thing is we need to access the router. So I'm going to access the router. Okay, so INUPLKO WAN01. Now we have to check the running configuration as well as the startup configuration. To check the running configuration, you need to execute the command show run config. Okay, and then to check the startup configuration, you need to execute the command show startup config. Before factory reset the router, let's see what are the elements is available in the running configuration and the startup configuration. So very first thing, you can see the host name. Host name is INUPLKO WAN01. Then you can see the enable password. You can see the clock information. You can see the domain name information. You can see the username and the password. Here we have applied one IP address on the Ethernet 0/0. Some other information related to the banner you can see here, banner EXEC, banner login and banner MOTD. And some pass sensitive data like password is available for the console access as well as the VTY access. Now to factory reset the router, you need to use the command write erase, and that command has to be executed on the privilege mode. So right now I'm on privilege mode and the command is write erase. As soon as you execute the command write erase, it will ask your permission whether you want to remove the entire configuration from the NVRAM. So we have to press the enter. As soon as you press the enter, you will see that the configuration has been removed. Okay, the next task is we need to reload the Cisco IS router. So the command is reload. Once you execute this command reload, it will ask your permission again, whether you want to proceed it or not. So we are going to say yes. It will reload the router. Now you can see that the initial boot up process for the router has been completed and we can see the prompt for the system configuration dialog. So in this state, verify if the router is reset to the factory default by checking the host name of the router. Okay, you can notice here the host name has been disappeared and it has changed to the default host name. You can also use the command show startup config to verify the configuration. So we have applied some configuration before resetting the router. Let's verify whether those configuration has been removed from the router or still is available in the startup configuration. So you can see that no host name, the host name has been gone. Even the clock information is set to the default. No interface on Ethernet 0/0. No banner information and no configuration on console as well as the VTY. So that's it in this video. We have successfully factory reset the router. See you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye.